Mik'd up with Mikie Mahtook. Got the boys in. I got Lloyd. We got J. Mitch. We got Jackie Boyd.
He tried to jump up and he might have knocked it in.
Good timing. Let's go. What a start to the Monday. I mean, I'm from Lafayette. My boys will come in and say,
oh, God. So I'm me and Joe on the ground. I got Joe in the headlock. And he's sitting there. He's punching me in the stomach. Like, punching me.
Here, is everyone sitting around? Who here thinks Ochinko can practice today after having 5 full beers? And he goes, Chad Jones, right? Chad's doing the team. 6 minutes. For 7 minutes, right? Chad's like, no, man, I don't think Ochinko can practice today. And I was like, I look back, I'm like, Jesus Christ. I saw you there. You were more fucked up than me.
On the Spirit plane had some issues, I think. She was sleep farting.
You heard her or you just thought it was her?
I sat right next to her. I smelled it.
Whoa. What was that?
Time for the show.
Now, when you do go to spring training, are you gonna bring your chinchilla and your turtle? My dad tell you about it.
The SEC is God, they hate fat people. I mean, I get crushed for that. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, man.
Hey, just the South, bro. You got a bunch of food down here. Like they should.
Players, look at Lloyd.
You know what, Lloyd?
You're looking for a recruiting coordinator, coach. I'm here.
He's like, I'll piss my pants right now.
No way.
We're wearing gray pants, long gray pants. He goes, I'll piss my pants right now. Hello. Welcome back to Mik'd Up. Today is Wednesday, March 20th. I apologize about Monday. Lloyd, apparently when Lloyd is not in town and he is not producing, shit hits the fan. And that's what happened on Monday. We had the cameras set up. We've been doing shows here for a couple weeks, thinking that, we're great. All of a sudden, cameras just not working. Lloyd is on the golf course, living his best life. We have no help, can't do it, can't figure it out.
I'm convinced he sabotages us on purpose.
Yep, no doubt.
He wants us to know we need him. I think it's what he's doing.
Yep, and listen, new studio comes new problems.
A lot of people are saying I need a raise.
Not one person said that. Only one, and that's part of your family. So, look, a lot of new stuff happening in the studio.
Luck.
We're working on it. Look at it. We're progressing. I've got a desk now. We've got some chairs. We've got some new things. We got cameras that we're about to start mounting. A lot of things are happening, just taking a little time. So I thank y'all for bearing with us. Yeah, thank y'all for sticking with us and helping us through this, through difficult times, no doubt. Speaking of difficult times, LSU Baseball coming off a difficult weekend at Mississippi State. I know everybody just wanted to just throw the towel in it's over, LSU stinks, no way they can repeat, all these types of things. I understand that. Bad weekend, no doubt. Every single SEC road team lost their series in the opening SEC weekends. So it's not ideal. It's not what you wanted to see, but all is not lost. They went 2-1. They lost 2 games, 1-1. They are still going to be okay. I can promise you that. Pitching, let them down. And we're going to get into that. I wanted to get into that on Monday, but obviously we didn't have the show. So we're going to get into a little bit of the weekend stuff. They righted the ship last night against Louisiana Tech, a 10-run rule. Came out guns blazing. 7 runs in the first 2 innings. They did everything that you wanted to do, or that you wanted to see them do after a disappointing weekend on the road. Mississippi State is now ranked 21st in the country. So, they started off bad. Everybody had this idea about Mississippi State being not very good. They've played a lot better as of late, and then obviously culminated with the weekend series against LSU, and they beat them in every single way. They hit better. They scored more runs, obviously. They swung the shit out of it. They pitched the shit out of it, and they played better defense. LSU did not pitch great over the weekend. They swung it, I think, well enough. They didn't swing it the way you wanted them to swing it, but they swung it well enough. Defensively, did not play great. They've averaged 2 errors a game for the last 4 games. That needs to get cleaned up. We're going to talk about that throughout the course of this show. Men's basketball makes it to the NIT, and now 1 and done. They're out. Losing North Texas at home. Not a huge crowd in the stands there. They lose a game. Listen, Matt McMahon did a really good job this season making the jump from last year, where I think they won 2 SEC games or 3 SEC games. They went 9-9 in conference. They're on the right track. They're putting themselves in a position to compete next year. Great season compared to what they were last year. Hopefully, sky's the limit. Hopefully next year you see another jump and they're in the NCAA tournament, not the NIT. It's Wednesday, so it's Ask Mikey and Mitch Day. We didn't really promote much of it at all because we've been trying to make sure everything else works. If you're in the chat and you're watching us and you're listening to us, go ahead and ask some questions. I'd imagine we have a lot of LSU baseball questions to be asked. We'll have the answers for you. We also have 2 guests coming in today. Softball started the season out 23-0. They are now 24-2, ranked top 5 in the country. We have Ciara Briggs and Maddie McKee coming in studio to talk about their fast start, talk about their team, talk about their season, what is going right for them, and what can we expect moving forward. They're coming in at 6:30. So we are excited. That is brought to you by Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys. We appreciate our partnership with Gordon and all of the athletes that he is helping and he is sending our way. We are very, very, very grateful for that. Before they come in, though, let's talk about last night, and then actually let's talk about the weekend. All right, you want to talk about this past weekend?
Yeah.
LSU goes to Mississippi State, and Mississippi State, if you go look at what their numbers look like, you're like, oh, their pitching staff's not bad. Like, they have some guys. Their ace is out.
Yeah.
Right? The ace was not pitching. And you would expect, okay, LSU needs to score a few runs, but you wouldn't expect them to score because Mississippi State's offense, their offensive numbers weren't great. Well, they hit a bunch of homers, and they hit a bunch of clutch homers. They had, for me, what made LSU so good last year, and even the year before, was shutdown innings and response innings, right? And that's how you win games in baseball. Where, hey, you're on the mound, you're pitching, you give up some runs. The next inning, your offense goes out there and responds and scores runs, and then you go out and you shut them down, right? That's either how you win games, or that's how you come back and you keep the games close. Well, against Mississippi State was the ones doing that, right? Mississippi State pitchers were coming out, and they were shutting down the innings after they had big runs, or big innings. And then if LSU would go ahead and score some runs, Mississippi State came back the next inning, and they were able to rebound and score a couple runs to kind of push the lead a little bit more. So that is how you build leads, and that's how you win baseball games. Mississippi State did all of those things. They made the big plays. They had the big hits in the clutch moments. And sometimes that just happens. It's baseball. The Sunday game was not great. 10-run ruled. LSU lost 15-5. Was not fun as a fan, but they come back last night, play Louisiana Tech, which if you remember 2 years ago, Louisiana Tech beat LSU twice. Louisiana Tech has been a good baseball team over the last few years. I think they're 17-5 or 16-5 going into this game last night. LSU starts out hot, ends up going. They end up 10-run ruling them, and they do the things they need to do to get back in the winning ways. But people are still concerned about this weekend. So let's talk about it. What'd you say, Jay?
What I saw when I watched it this weekend, so I think it's pretty clear. I don't really care how good you are offensively. If we're going to go into a weekend and we're going to give up, 10, 8, 15, we're talking about 33 runs on a weekend, there's probably a good chance you either got swept or you lost that series, right?
Right.
And I'm nowhere saying that the offense went out and absolutely balled. They didn't. There's still some time. There's still some things they got to work on, but that's what I expected out of that offense anyway. If you're going to go on the road and play in this conference and give up 33 runs, you might as well at least mark down 2 losses. It's probably going to happen, right? So for me, as I've always kind of thought about this team, they are going to have to lean on arms, and the arms are going to have to show up. What I remember seeing kind of through the weekend is that, and it's, I think, now don't get me wrong, the 33 runs and however many hits it is that they gave up, it's not good, but I think it actually looked a little worse when I watched them. And it wasn't so much that, it was the walk the house, but they got behind so many hitters. They got into 2-ball and 3-ball counts so many times that just allowed these guys to kind of like really, really, really shrink the zone and do some kind of impressive things at the plate that Mississippi State did. So I think for me, when I watch them play, I really think that that's something that they got to clean it up.
Yeah.
And it has to be cleaned up quick. And the reason why I say it has to be cleaned up quick is because, like I know, we've seen this league a long time. We played in this league. If you go 22-8 in this league, it's almost a guarantee you won the league.
Oh, yeah, 20-10 probably.
22-8 is almost a guarantee you won the league, right? So with that being the case is, all right, so we're looking at 21-9, 20-10, right? Well, you got 6 to 7 losses to play with right now to win the league, right? You mess around and lose 2 more here, you're really behind the 8 ball.
Yeah.
And I get it. You don't have to win the league to get into the tournament, but my point is you have the talent to do it. And I'm pretty sure that's probably one of the things that this team put as a goal for the year. Well, 2 weekends into it, you go ahead and lose another series, you're going to put yourself behind that 8 ball.
Yeah.
So it needs to be cleaned up quick, and you have an opportunity to do it against the team you played in the national championship last year. I'm looking for the arms to come out and step up and actually show out this weekend and keep these games closer and keep this team in it longer to where you don't have to put up 10, 11, 9, 16 runs to win a ball game.
Well, I think part of that, too, is defensively, right? So you look at Holman, who's been lights out to start the season. He goes, I think, 4 2/3 in his outing, gives up 4 runs, only 2 earned, right?
But see, and that's what I'm talking about too. Is like when I watch, and that's what I mean. Like Holman wasn't very sharp, and a lot of these guys weren't sharp. Now I'm not bailing out the defenders. You still got to make the plays, but when you're not throwing a lot of strikes and there's a lot of pitches being thrown, there's a lot of balls, and there's always 2-ball counts and 3-ball counts. You're going to get defenders on their heels.
Yep.
And I don't think that plays into actually great defense.
Right.
So I think that was a lot of it too.
And look, bounces went the right way for Mississippi State, right? Like if you watched Thatcher start on Sunday, he gave up 3 runs in the first inning on 3 straight doubles. All 3 doubles were hitting the exact same spot inside the bag at third base, right? And that's just sometimes you can't try to hit the ball there. That just doesn't happen, right? Like it's hard to yank a ball down the bag. Like you can hit it inside the lines, like a couple yards inside the line, 6-7 feet, but 6-7 inches inside the line, inside the bag is tough.
Yeah.
3 straight doubles, scored 3 runs. Thatcher rights the ship, right? Starts looking better, and then they get to the 5th, and he gives up the home run to center, and he gives up some runs. He ends up throwing 5 innings. He's the only starter through 5 innings. He gave up 7 earned runs. Now, doesn't look great. It's not how you draw it up. It's not what you want. But had those balls gone 6 inches the other way and gone foul, things look different, right? And so sometimes when you go and you're playing in the game of baseball, those weekends happen. And it doesn't mean that you're a bad team. Now, if you're doing week in and week out, yeah, you're not great. LSU is not that team. Now, encouraging things that happened over the weekend that continued to happen on Tuesday. Tommy White, people were worried about him. We weren't worried about him. People were worried about him. I didn't want to mush him. I tried to mush him by picking him as my pick to click. Pick to click was Pearson, though. He did get it.
It was a de facto. If you were listening,
Well, that's
you
the
were
wrong.
listening.
That's
Yeah,
the wrong camera.
whoa.
They're not here yet. They're not there yet.
New cameras.
One day away. This is what we
That's
get.
right.
Huh?
Hey, what live?
Yeah, we're live. Exactly.
But yeah, I appreciate you saying, hey, if you were listening, you were listening. Where you said, I know who I want to pick and I know who I feel like is going to go off. I'll say Pearson, but if you were actually paying attention to the show, it felt like it was a Tommy White pick.
It was, and I didn't want to do it because I knew that I could feel that he was
On the cusp.
I mean, it was bound to happen. He's not a bad hitter. Like, he's an elite hitter. Like, it was going to happen, right? And so, Tommy, if we're picking some of the positives from this weekend, Jared Jones is still swinging a hot bat, right? But he's been doing what he's been doing all year. He's been pretty consistent, more walks than strikeouts. But over the weekend, Tommy had his coming out party for the year, right? He went
Continued on Tuesday.
So here and Josh Pearson is the other one, right? So over the last 4 games, so from Friday to Tuesday. Now, granted, I know they're only 2-2, but moving forward, this is a huge thing. Tommy White over the last 4 games. I know I said this out loud earlier. Do you know what the numbers are, Lloyd?
What was that? I wasn't listening.
What are Tommy's numbers over the last 4 games? You know,
4 home runs. I know that.
So he's 9 of 18,
500.
4 home
There you
runs,
go.
9 RBIs in the last 4 games. Right now, before that, he only had 2 home runs on the year. He's got 6 now. Josh Pearson, who I said at the beginning of the year, I think is an important part of the lineup because he puts together really good at bats. He's able to go on all sides of the field. He can hit lefties pretty well, and he's a guy that I feel like needs to be in the lineup. Well, over the last 4 games, he's 7 of 16 with a home run and about 4 or 5 RBIs. And so those 2 guys kind of finding their own. And Travinski's been pretty consistent. I think he's hitting like 320, 330 on the year so far. Jared Jones has been pretty good for the year. Now you got 4 or 5 guys who are really starting to, come into their own and score you some runs, and that's important moving forward. But more important than that is the pitcher needs to get back on track. It happened last night.
It does.
He threw a lot of guys. Jay, I was watching the game. I'm like, Jay, can you just start an inning with a new guy? He kept taking him out with 2 outs in the inning. And so I think that's his way of, hey, I need to get these guys out of the bullpen in the middle of an inning. I don't want them fresh innings. I want them having to come in these situations. And but he did it like 5 straight times.
Yeah.
Where he'd bring a reliever in, and they would come in with 2 outs in that next inning. And so he threw like 6 or 7 guys last night. Pitching staff looked great. Defense was still a little shaky, but they only gave up 1 run. They 2 run. So that's all you could really ask for, and that's what you need to do after you come off from a disappointing loss. A weekend.
I said at the start of the year, and I still believe that he is that guy and that kind of talent. But I'm going to go ahead and address kind of the elephant in the room right here. We're not talking about him. We're not saying much about it. But last year, I don't know if we all remember, there was one guy we kept pointing at on the pitching staff that we said, hey, if he gets going, that's when you'll see this team get to its full potential. He got going. He closed a Game 3, didn't he? And they won a World Series last year. Talking about Thatcher.
Started Game 3.
Started Game 3. That same guy, not Thatcher, but that same person, that same role to me on this year's team is the guy we want to play center field every day. If we can get Paxton Kling going, if he can really get going, that's when this team will really get unlocked. He's that kind of talent. He's that kind of special.
No doubt.
And once he gets over that hump and he starts playing that way, I think that's when this team can really get to going.
Yeah, and we talked about this last week. You asked the question, Lloyd, last week, hey, do you feel like he's pressing, or do you feel like, what do you do in these situations? Do you think they need to bench him? And I said, no, I don't think so. Like, I think he's coming. You need to give him some time to come out of it. Well, he went, I think, 7, 8 straight games without getting a hit. And I said the only way you take him out is if you feel like he has suffered. His at bat starts to suffer, where he's not battling through pitches. He's just kind of going up there, and he looks lost when he swings, right? Like, because up to that point, he was still getting on base. He was walking. He was getting hit. You felt like he was still being competitive. Well, There's a couple times in Mississippi State where you felt like he just wasn't seeing it well, and maybe he was thinking too much. Well, then they benched him for a couple games, right? He kind of had an opportunity to see it from the other side, and last night he's not perfect yet, but last night he looked better. You could tell he's tweaked some things in his swing, and he hit the double down the line. He hits it pretty hard, and he gets hit by a pitch, so he gets on base a couple times, and sometimes that's all it takes for you to get hot and start really moving forward. But I agree with you. He needs to get going for this team to reach its full potential, especially offensively.
And I think he needs to get going not only just for the team, but for himself too, because, like I know it, man, like when you start the season off hot, and whether you want to sit here and say, oh, I don't look at the scoreboard, I never see the numbers or anything, that's a lie. We all see that shit, right?
Yeah.
So when you start the season off hot and the numbers look good and you go through your low, because it's coming. The low is going to happen. Everybody has the low. It's a little easier to kind of look up at the board, and the board still shows a good number.
Yep.
So for him, like just himself, he needs to get going, because you don't want to be walking around the ballpark trying to make sure you look away from every board and acting like you don't see it, and having a if that game's in your mind at all, it's taking away from what you should be focusing on, right? And that's where you don't want to be. So even for himself, he needs to get going, because that's going to allow him to kind of just take a deep breath.
Right.
Play the game and not worry so much about everything.
And here's the deal, like still so early in the year, right? Like
Super early.
You don't have a ton of at bats, so you can make a big jump, right? Case in point, Josh Pearson.
Yep.
Before the weekend, Josh Pearson I think was hitting like 225. He goes and has a solid weekend, a 3-hit game last night, and now his average is like just under 300. I think it's like 290, just under 290. And so my point in saying that is it only takes one weekend. It only takes a few games to get hot and figure out, okay, I feel good about this, to just take off. And now you're saying, oh, I'm looking at my numbers on the screen. They're no longer 220.
Right.
It is now 320, right? Like that can happen in 2 weeks.
Right.
Right? And it can go the other way, right? You could be lights out, and then 2 weeks later you start struggling, and it goes the other way. It's just it fluctuates so much this early. So I'm not worried. I think that there's obviously a lot of time for him to right it. He just needs to start feeling confident in himself, and that's the big conundrum, right? Does confidence come before success, or does success breed confidence? You know what I mean? Like
they go hand in hand.
Right. Like, are you confident because you're having success, or are you having success because you're confident? Right? Like, I think there's a little bit of both.
I think you have success because you're confident. I think you stay above water, right? And you continue to be competitive because you're confident. Like the real success comes, and then all this confidence comes. But I think you are competitive all the time off of inherent confidence of you believing who you are, what you do in your process, and how you go about your stuff.
Right. And I've been in a position like I've been asked that question a million times when you're struggling. Like, hey, are you still confident? Yeah, but you still have doubts. You're still struggling. So like you're still in your own dome, thinking like, man, what the hell is happening? Why am I not getting hits? Why am I feeling like shit? I'm doing everything I need to do
Baseball.
in the cages, right? And so, yeah, your confidence gets shot. Doesn't mean you think you're bad. It's just it's nice to see some balls find the gaps and find the seats every now and then to kind of help you reaffirm your confidence. And I don't think he's lacking confidence. I think that he knows he's good, and I think that's what frustrates him right now. Is like, hey, I know I'm good. I know I'm way better than this. It's just not happening for me right now. It will. It eventually will.
And
yep, go.
For Kling's sake, like obviously you're not getting the production at the plate, but you saw the difference it made with him being in center field. So I don't even know if it – obviously you can't have a guy that's batting – for LSU to get where they want to go, I don't think he can hit 220 or 225. I don't think that's the player that he is, but I don't know if you can sacrifice his defense because of how much ground he can cover in the outfield. I think there was a stat that came out on the ball that Bingham missed where he dove and it got underneath him, that there was like a 98% catch rate for Paxton Kling. Like that was a stat that came out.
Like for Paxton Kling or for any center fielder?
No, for Paxton Kling. And
how can they determine that?
I don't know. It's a minor league, it's a Major League Baseball stat type deal that they put out. I guess they track like your speed to the ball.
And I'm not disagreeing with it.
No, me either. This is something I saw on Twitter.
Yeah. Okay.
Twitter thing.
Perfect.
But I'm saying, regardless, it plays into the fact that his ability to play defense, I would say he's a better all-around center fielder. And Bingham's not a bad outfielder, but he's not really in position for the LSU where he's been practicing center field every day.
We had Pearson in our studio on Monday, before we had our
debacle. The interview before the interview.
Before we had our debacle, and we were talking about it, and I was like, hey, like, Paxton, like, is he? He's like, oh, he's a freak. Like,
You can
fast
see
guy
it.
on the team. Like, he is. He goes, once it clicks, it's like, oh boy, here we go, right? So everybody sees it and they know it. It's just, it's got to happen.
The thing about it too is though, you talk about that play in center. What happens with guys too that know they're better hitters than they're performing, if you will, sooner or later that starts to seep into the defense, right? And so like you want it to get going because we can talk about how good he is in center, but if you continue to not hit, you're only human. That stuff kind of carries with you for so far, and you can only kind of push it off for so long. And sooner or later, it comes on the defensive side. It comes on the brain forward on the base path. That kind of snowballs, right? And that's what you don't want to see. So you got to see him get going, and it's for – obviously it's going to help the team. There's no doubt.
Oh, I mean, how
the
many
better version you get of him, the better version you'll get of LSU Tigers. It's just – that's a fact. That's
doubt.
not arbitrary. It's a fact.
Yeah, I mean,
And
how many times have you been the third out of an inning, gone out to the outfield, and done like you're working on your swing more than you're throwing?
A lot, no doubt, right? You think about it, it consumes you because we'll put you in the lineup, the bat, right? Like, very rarely is somebody saying, hey, you're going to play because your defense. You're going to play because, especially early on, because you're swinging it. Now, if the lineup doesn't need you to swing it, a la when Andrew Stevenson was at LSU his freshman year, they didn't need him offensively.
Right.
They need him in center field, right? And so that there's different circumstances.
But those guys know that.
Right.
And that's my point. Like,
You don't take
Andrew
him to the field
Stevenson
with you,
knew
yeah.
his freshman year.
It didn't matter what I hit.
He wasn't supposed to be out there hitting 330, so he wasn't worried about that. Austin Nola, his freshman year, wasn't worried about trying to hit 320. They wanted him to pick it. And that's what he came in and did. So you have a guy like Paxton Kling who knows he's a better hitter than what he's doing and knows he should be playing better. The more it snowballs, the more it's going to take to the other side of the ball for him. And that's what you don't want him to get to.
Thankfully, it hadn't happened yet,
Yeah.
right? And I think last night was a good stepping stone for him. I think the double down line was a good thing. I think the getting on base was a good thing. He stole a base. Like, doing those things makes you feel like you're in the action again. Now, Jared made a great point. I need to see him live in the middle of the field at some point, right? Like, he needs to start driving things this way. And look, that's easier said than done. Because when you're in a position, when you're struggling, and you're trying to do everything right now the most important thing is just making sure he's making solid contact. But as he starts to feel more comfortable, you're going to start seeing his spray chart go from left field to everything's going to start going towards center field. And once you start seeing that or him driving the ball right center, you're like, okay, he's back.
You know, it's weird. It's the hardest thing. It truly, it's so hard to do as a player. But I've had hitting coaches in the past talk about when you're struggling and you're going bad. Sometimes you literally have to sacrifice an at bat. Like sometimes you literally have to say, you know what? If I know I've been out in front pulling off, not seeing it well, hey, you know what? I'm gonna get in this. I'm gonna get in the box this next at bat, and I better not. If I'm a right-handed hitter, I better not hit a ball to the left of the second baseman. If I'm a left-handed hitter, I better not hit a ball to the right of the shortstop. Meaning, like, I am going to see this thing as deep as possible, and if that means I'm gonna hit a 5-hopper at the shortstop just to get right, 5-hopper at the second baseman just to get right, then I guess I got to do it. But there's some way I got to be able to say, you know what? I'm sacrificing this at bat because I need to be able to see the baseball deeper and actually get myself back to where I need to be. Now, it's really hard to buy in and actually do that when you're in the midst of trying to compete, right? Like, you're fighting for your life. You want every hit because you're not getting them at that time. But it's a really necessary thing, and I think really, really, really good hitters can do that, which is why you sometimes really never see him dip like that.
It's just, I feel for him, dude.
We've all been there. Everybody's been there.
It feels like there's an undue pressure on him because when you have the lineup the way that it's constructed and you see Jared Jones leave, Travinski leave, Tommy White leave, all leave the ballpark in one game, like you obviously want to be a part of that. But then there's the other side of it when you're in SEC play and it feels like you're missing one part of the lineup. It feels like that's falling on Paxton Kling almost every game.
100%. And I think that you're starting to see Jay try to, like, he's putting Larson in. You know, you see him get some more opportunities and some more at-bats. So, like, he's looking for that other guy in the outfield to make a move. Yeah. Right? And I know he wants to be, he needs it to be Paxton, but he's trying. Yeah. Right? And he's mixing and matching, and I think he's doing a good job. Look, LSU's not the bottom of the barrel offensively in the SEC. They're hitting 300 as a team. Like, they're trending up. Florida's actually hitting 298 as a team. Now, I know Florida's 12-8, on the season right now, but they just took the series from A&M at home. A&M was undefeated going into Florida.
Right.
And Florida has I think they're second to last in the SEC in ERA. They're right in the middle.
Almost
seventh.
a 6.
Huh?
It's almost a 6.
It's almost a 6, right? Like, not good. They're like right in the middle, right behind LSU as offensively. Right now, hitting some homers, but they strike out a little bit. LSU's above them offensively, and they're above them on the mound. And so, all is not lost. Things aren't in a terrible spot, but they're gonna have to start really moving forward.
And quick too, like now.
This weekend. It's a big weekend.
It's a big weekend for
It's a
him.
big weekend
It's a
for
huge
him.
weekend for him.
I think the staff needs to right the ship. Now, are we about to? I think we're in the midst of a legendary run from Tommy right now. Like, going back to his freshman year, Tommy, where it was like, I feel like he hit 12 home runs in like 15 games or something crazy. He's got 4 in 4 games. He hadn't had a multi-home run game this year. Like, I just feels like he is like, oh, I'm hot.
Is he not the absolute the ultimate optimist right here?
I mean, he's hit 4 home runs in 4 games, hitting 500. Like, Florida's given up a bunch of runs. It just feels like he has an opportunity to say, okay,
you can't wait to play again.
You're going to look up in 10 games, and you're going to damn, he's got 7 home runs in 10 games or something crazy, right? Which, think about it, he only needs to hit 3 and 6 to get to that number, right? And so I think that's a big thing for LSU offensively. He's been the one guy on lineup who's been being pitched around. He hasn't been able to be himself, but he's been able to get hits.
That's the part right there.
Right. Pitched around, right?
That's why I say you're the ultimate optimist right here, because I just can't see, especially knowing what he did to Florida last year to actually beat them for a national championship, that they're going to say, you know what, let's just challenge his ass all weekend.
Right. And look, I'm not saying they're going to challenge him all weekend, but I think that where he's at,
I think he's in a great spot, and I think it's going to.
I think that if even the small one pitch in that bat, I feel like it's going to be hit. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of where I feel he feels he is right now, which I think is a big thing.
Yeah.
And the other one is Pearson. I think Pearson being hot is huge, because Pearson hadn't even gotten hot with the homers and the doubles yet. Like, he's just being a hitter, And so, I think both of those guys in that position makes me a lot more confident going into this weekend, because I'm always confident in the staff. I think last weekend was a fluke. Like, I think that Holman's not going to go and do what he did. Now, listen, I heard some rumors that Mississippi State was doing some things to
That's not necessarily maybe legal.
I'm not saying it's illegal, but it was, like, very concerning, like, having earpieces in at the plate. And not telling them what pitch is coming, but basically telling them a scouting report like, hey, look for a breaking ball. Because apparently one of them fell out in the dirt, and the guy just put it back in the air.
Can you do that?
I don't know.
That's word on the street.
I don't know.
Did you see it?
I mean, I was told.
When I heard about PitchCom, I don't think that was how they intended for it to be used. And
I'm not saying that's why they
don't know, but
like,
that's what I hear.
It's got. I mean,
Somebody's
people know it,
trying to
so
get
it
to
can't be illegal. Or they've been in trouble for it.
I don't know.
Watching too much of the Patriots documentary.
Or the Astros.
And the Astros.
I don't know, but that could have been a reason why. I just don't think the pitching staff is going to go through another weekend and not get through 5 innings, right? Or I don't think that they're going to go, like, Holman's not going to go 4 2/3 and give up 4 runs and do those types of things. I think Holman's going to put himself in a position. He's going to right the ship, and he's going to shut. I mean, look, Holman's still got a sub 1 ERA on the year, because only 2 of those runs were earned. But I think he's going to do well. Gage jump. Listen, Cade Anderson threw once over the weekend, did not throw in the midweek. So maybe they're positioning him to put himself as more of a role over the weekend. I don't know.
He threw
out of the 3
Saturday.
starters, and I'm not saying Thatcher needs to get taken out the rotation, but out of the 3 starters, Thatcher's got the worst numbers. And so I'm not saying that he's going to take a spot, but maybe it's like, hey, you're going to throw us 3 or 4 good innings, and then K's coming behind you. I don't know.
Maybe
I don't know.
Maybe it's behind Gage jump as well.
Maybe it's behind Gage. Maybe you go lefty. I don't know.
That's possible.
But it just feels like
I mean,
he didn't throw last night. I don't believe.
I could see it going lefty because you know a lot of coaches are when it comes to throwing guys out of the pen. If you have a lefty starter, you're probably going to see a lefty out of the pen that day, and obviously LSU has a ton of them. But if you got somebody like Gage Jump, who Jay has admittedly said himself,
He did not throw yesterday.
He is very new to college baseball, right? Like he doesn't have a lot of innings in college baseball. I could see him saying, you know what, I'll get Gage out there, not extend him too long, and then I'm coming right with the freshman right after him. So I think it's probably more of a chance that you do that. Because if you get a good start out of Holman, right, and then you get a good start out of Gage and you get a good piggyback out of him, well, then we have a whole bunch of the bullpen that will be ready to go on a Sunday if need be.
Yeah.
So I would think it might be that way around, and that's how I could see it probably happening.
Lloyd?
Oh, I was just a little bit surprised to see. Now my mind's on this earpiece thing because I didn't see.
I know. I could tell. I saw you.
Oh,
you're on Tiger droppings. Did anybody say anything about it or no?
No, that's where I need to get a little bit deeper into the Tiger droppings. They're still on Matt McMahon and LSU.
Why?
Well, because it's the most recent thing that happened. You got to go back in the
actually, technically, the most recent thing is the baseball game last night because it was
that's
after.
up there.
But like McMahon and them, like I know everybody wanted them to be North Texas.
Well, no, I don't want to get on basketball. I'm just saying because that would. I don't want to say that would make sense, but you haven't seen Holman touch up like that. Me and Jerry were talking before the show a little bit where he doesn't have like the dominant stuff. He has to be on for him to be.
Yeah.
Especially like he's pitched in the SEC before, obviously coming from Alabama, but that first SEC started especially on the road, and you could see it kind of where it kind of got the ballpark got big for a second for everybody from LSU that hasn't maybe been in that moment before, and it got away from you a little bit, and that can happen. But especially when you have a guy like Holman. Jump, and I know Thatcher's done it before, but for those two guys, if they're going to be your Friday, Saturday guy, I feel like that was a good test for LSU to go to Mississippi State, a team that was, I would say, relatively hot coming into the series, and that was LSU's first true road test going over there, and now I think it's imperative that you have Florida coming here.
No doubt, right? Going on the road twice would have been tough to start the season, right? But you can't have your bullpen throw that many innings every game and expect
out of need too.
Right. Like you just can't. Like Holman has to go 5-6. Gage Jump has to go 5-6.
It feels like Gage Jump is still working a way to get there, right? Like just coming off the arm, but I feel like he's been getting closer.
Yeah, and that's why. So like you literally just said it again. Like that's why I don't think that the Cade Anderson move, if he's going to throw over the weekend, comes on. Let's move Thatcher out and
wherever they need him.
I feel it's let's throw him behind Gage because he's so new and he's still getting back into it. Right? Think about last year. Last year when it first came out, like Thatcher wasn't even extended that long for a while, and it took him a while to kind of get into it. So why would it be any different for Gage Jumper this year, right? And I feel like when I watch Holman throw, I feel like I'm watching the college version of Chris Carpenter in his prime, Adam Wainwright in his prime, right? Where he's great when he's on and he's got it working. And if he he wasn't bad like this, he wasn't bad this weekend, but there's just too much talent in the league for 92 to 94 to not be spotted up and to not be hit, right? Yeah. He's not Hagen Smith, he's not Paul Skeens, right? Where there's so much room for error because the stuff is so explosive. Right. So you need him to be on. You need the lefty to come in and do what he does on Saturday. And you're going to need the staff to throw the way they need to throw for you to win.
I had something I was going to say to your comment, but I have so much caffeine, I'm buzzing. Right, and so I lost my train of thought. I lost my train of thought right there, and I don't know what I was going to say. But you were talking about the staff. You were talking about – what else were you talking about? What else did you say? You said a lot.
I did. On the spot, too. I wasn't paying attention at all.
I know you were. That's why I called you out.
Appreciate it. Hand up. No, but I think even with the staff, like, if you want to go, I think you could look back to last year almost where you saw guys where it was Riley Cooper and Nate that were kind of like double barreling for you. Yeah. And you could do that with Cade Anderson, and whether it be Saturday or Sunday. But I'm interested to see, because like you said with Holman, it has to be so perfect, and especially
Not,
this
not
night,
doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be on.
fine.
It has to be on. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like going into an away ballpark where there's some of those things that are inside, outside, maybe you're either getting the call or you're not, and that's when you have to readjust.
Yeah.
And he's going to have to be able to pitch in those scenarios where you're not going to get every call, but I think him being back at home on a Friday,
Right.
he probably rights the ship a little bit, and then everything falls in order after that. You have so many arms in the pen, it's just a matter of how you
Yeah.
use them, and
Yeah.
that's where LSU kind of gets in a pickle.
Now, what's tricky about the weekend, right? Like, Florida hitting 298 as a team. Holman and these guys, like, yeah, you want them to go out there and you want them to throw really well. Well, here's the tricky part about Florida. Florida will strike out. They're not afraid to swing and miss. They're not afraid to strike out. But they're also going to hit some homers, right? They have guy on their team's got 10. I think the Shelton kid from Alabama who transferred, which, by the way, Alabama's still good this year.
Oh, yeah.
And they had 3 big-time guys transfer out of their school going to the same conference.
Well, the coach isn't actively working against them.
Yeah, well, yeah. Yep. Well, only because he had so much confidence in the starter not to bet, but then when the starter got hurt, okay, now let's hammer it. You know?
That's pretty good.
Yeah. But Shelton, the shortstop at Florida, has got 10 homers. You have Caglianone's got 9. You have, I think, 3 other guys that have 6 or 7 plus, right? So, not 6 or 7, 4 or 5 guys that have 6 or 7 plus outside of those 3. So they're going to hit homers. They also strike out. And so the tricky part is having these guys where, yeah, you don't have that explosive stuff where you can make mistakes. I'm not necessarily worried about the mistakes of walking guys this weekend. I'm worried about the mistakes of, damn, I left this over the middle. This ball is hit into Nicholson, right?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I am because
About the walks?
because if we walk a couple and we
Well, I
put
know.
more on and those guys run in the balls, then it's a
Right,
great part.
but I'm not. My point, I guess, obviously, I'm always worried about walks, but I don't. I'm not worried about them
You don't think
actually
that's
walking.
it?
Like,
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to be the issue. I think they're going to throw the strikes. My issue is, hey, if you miss over the plate, these dudes have a chance to ball a long way,
Well-
right? And so, because they've hit a lot of homers this year. Now
Yeah.
they also struck out.
Yeah.
And so if you do execute the way you want to execute, and you don't make super bad mistakes, and you don't leave everything over the middle of the plate, or you don't get behind in counts and have to come all the way back,
That's
right?
the one.
Then you can get these guys out.
That's the one. That's team strikes out a lot. Team hits a lot of balls far. Right. We watched last week. They didn't walk the house. They just got behind in counts and had to
Colby
come
Shelton, that's his
There you
name.
go. And they just had to come to him. And Mississippi State was able to capitalize on that. You do that this week, you may find them hanging 4, 5, 6 spots on you every inning.
Yeah.
They have that kind of firepower.
Yep.
So this is a team where you have to get ahead early and you have to expand the strike zone on them. So you can't fall behind in 2-ball and 3-ball counts like you did routinely last week.
Right.
I promise you're going to lose another series like that this week. You got to go ahead and you got to go at these dudes.
It felt like getting behind, right? And it felt like LSU kind of came out of their approach, right? So an example of that, and you saw both sides of it, was on Sunday when they played against the lefty and righty, right?
The lefty and righty.
And he was coming out there and he was throwing fastballs. He was missing up high, but he was throwing hard. He's throwing fastballs, and we're swinging through it, popping up, not forcing him to throw strikes, right? Not forcing him to prove to us that, hey, I got it, because his issue is when he walks guys. And so it just felt like they were kind of helping him out. They were trying to score a bunch of runs because they knew they needed to, and they were swinging at pitches that maybe they shouldn't have swung at. And you saw it flip. You saw it flip like 2 innings after. They started not swinging at it. He was missing arm side. They were walking guys. He walked 5 straight guys at one point, or 5 guys in an inning. Like, so that's how LSU got back in the game on Sunday, and then the wheels kind of fell off. But to your point, it's like, yeah, don't get in a position where they are behind in counts, hitting homers, you're down runs, where you have to do that again.
Yeah.
Because then you saw what happened from that last weekend.
How badly did Jay want to get kicked out Saturday? Did you see that?
Yeah, he wasn't happy.
Well, I also heard it was a lot of chirping on our end to start the chirping on their end. what I heard.
I just think he was trying to send a message, which I feel like message received, right? LSU was able to battle back and win that second game, but it felt like
They tried to give it away.
But
Yeah.
I think that what you were talking about, where LSU was able to get multiple people on baseball, drawing walks and having good at bats, and then you have people that go up there with 0-0 count after a walk and take swing and a miss or pop one up. And Jay and their offensive approach is not what he wants.
Right.
And so he was getting fed up to the point where he's like, all right, I'm about to see myself out.
Right.
Or fire up the team. One of
Yeah.
the two, but he wanted to get tossed.
Well, Florida has a 5.78 ERA, and so just because they have a high ERA doesn't mean they're not going to go out there and throw well. But if you help them, that helps their case, right? Caglianone's the college version of Shohei. Caglianone's got a 1-point-something ERA. He's throwing really well, a ton of strikeouts, but also still walks a bunch of guys. So you saw in the national championship game, if you force him to throw strikes and you put together good at-bats, the likelihood of him continuing to throw strikes without the help is not high.
It's not high.
So he's going to start walking guys. You're going to score a bunch of runs like you did in Omaha. Now, if you're chasing pitches and you feel like you're pressing, all of a sudden you're no longer going to be able to get him out. He's going to strike everybody out. He's going to go 7 innings and probably get 2 home runs on you, and he's going to win the game single-handedly. But if you're smart and you do the things that you didn't do on Sunday, he's going to come out of the game in two innings, and you're going to have some runs. You're going to look up and you're like, damn, we scored 10 runs in 4 innings off this guy. So you've got to be able to stick with the approach. And I think that should be the message moving forward. I'd imagine that's what Jay's saying. I mean, Jay, the other thing he's done really well here is you don't see sustained failure, right? Oh, lost a series, next series they look way better, right? Didn't look good on Sunday, looked great last night. Let's see what happens in this weekend. You don't usually see them lose consent. Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Does the defensive play lately concern either of y'all?
Yep, it does.
Where?
Everywhere. I mean, there's been defensive miscues everywhere. You saw Brady Neal's playing right. The ball checked up and goes behind him, and again, Mississippi State gets to the wall. Like, you had some misplays behind the plate. Tommy's booted a couple balls last night. He played great over the weekend. Last night. And look, some of that's just maybe being a little careless, losing a little focus. But first base, there's just a lot of different. It's happened everywhere. And yeah, a little bit concerning. I mean, that's a lot of errors in 4 games. They're averaging 2 errors a game for the last 4 games.
Yeah.
So yes,
I think
Lloyd.
I'm trying to think of where they're coming from, and I guess that's what kind of provoked the Paxton Clean conversation, because you saw it happen in the outfield, which shouldn't happen. I mean, you don't have to play the best outfield, but you shouldn't make errors in the outfield, at least in my mind. And then you have, when you put Milam at second base, you saw that, but I think it's because of how much you're rotating people and put them in different spots. Like, you wanted to put Brady on the lineup, so you put him in right field. He's played there 2-3 games, and then you have these situations that you put these guys in that they're not really used to. Like, Pearson wasn't necessarily a second baseman, so you saw those errors come early on. And I think that's probably part of it, where you have so many pieces that you're trying to get the lineup right that it could come to a detriment of your defense.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a part of it. I could 100% see that, and I also think, and it kind of plays into that a little bit, I still really think the better you are at getting strike one, the better you are at getting ahead and keeping guys active and keeping guys in it by throwing competitive pitches, really, I think the better the defense is going to play.
Yeah.
And like I said, they didn't walk a ton of guys last week, but they got behind a lot. They threw a lot of very uncompetitive pitches. And when you do that, guys get on their heels. Guys start looking around. Guys start doing anything else besides being locked in. And I think the better that they can be on the mound, better chance they'll play defense.
I think you've seen Jay figure out his infield, right? I think the starting infield is what you see, right? You're going to get Tommy at third. You're going to get Braswell at short. You're going to get Monster at second. You're going to get Jarrett at first, right? And then behind the dish, you're going to have that rotation. But you feel
that's kind of a big piece of it.
Yeah, but I think all those guys behind the plate they haven't really been the detriment of the defense. Like, they hadn't really been like, damn.
Well, I think you could see it getting to Neal almost already, where he's been in right field and he's sometimes behind the dish. And Milazzo, I would say, by far, and not by far it's not because Brady Neal isn't good at it, but I think he's such a good defensive catcher that, and he's not hitting it bad. He's batting, 330?
Yeah, and see,
But then that comes at where's the
don't
pop in
think
your
that-
lineup if it's not Travinski, Jones, and White?
I don't think that the catching position, because you're catching every day, like even bullpens, right? I mean, maybe not last year, maybe this year, but usually catchers are catching bullpens, and they're kind of honing in on their craft. And yeah, I guess you do want to get them to get in a rhythm, but like usually you don't see guys going from like the outfielder, like it's the infield guys that need the rhythm and need to feel like they're part of the game, need to feel like, they're getting a bunch of reps for them to you feel like they're comfortable defensively. I feel like catchers always seem to jump in there and define outfielders kind of the same way, right? And so
True outfielders.
Yeah, right, true outfielders. Yeah, so maybe for Neil, I don't know how much he's feeling. I think when you're that young, as long as you're in the lineup, you're fine. But the outfield's the one that they keep shuffling around, right? Like you have Kling's in there majority of the time at center, but then you put in Bingham in center, and you got someone in left. So that's the one that you've kind of seen a rotating. Pearson's out there and left, right,
And that's where you're seeing a majority of the errors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, our guests are here if you want to go grab them. Thank you.
Yeah, not a problem.
I'm a big believer at if you're jack of all trades, you're probably a master of none. Like it takes especially as a young player, it takes a special dude to be able to bounce from position to position and play it really at a really high level.
Right.
I think guys like that, like those super utility guys, they really get that craft and that feel later in their career as they get older.
I agree.
And I think that has a little bit to do with what you're seeing defensively, just like the area that you may have seen from Brady Neal, like the
also
attention,
it checked and kicked.
right? But the attention that you have and kind of the little nuances.
Y'all can
and
just
that sort of
hop on it. Yeah, sorry,
That's
we're just moving new studios, so
Be athletic. Be
yeah.
athletic.
How you doing?
How y'all doing?
Good. Welcome. It's first time I'm mic'd up. Appreciate y'all coming here. We were talking baseball, but it's easy segue into softball.
Yeah.
obviously.
Third underhand.
What's that?
Just third underhand.
Well,
At least
they
start
don't.
the
They
game.
throw it overhand.
It's only one.
I can't hit
Yeah, it's
the
had to
fast
start
pitch
the game.
underhand.
You tried?
I've tried. It's not great. It's not.
Someone's pitched to you?
Yeah, but not like to the level that y'all are
Okay.
at, right? So like I still struggle with it. I was never good at submarine guys, so I can't imagine I'd be very good at hitting softball. But y'all are very good. Y'all were 24-0 to start the season. Obviously a little hiccup this weekend that happens. How exciting has the start of the season been for y'all? One, and two, how do you rebound after you have that high of like, we're 24-0, and I can't say that's never happened because I think it's happened like one time, right? Oklahoma went undefeated.
Yeah.
Did
Did they go undefeated?
they go undefeated, Lloyd?
I think they lost one game.
I would defer to them as the experts on
Yeah,
this.
maybe they lost. Okay, well, nobody's going undefeated. At least that I know of, right? So it's not very likely to have. You start off 2-0, then you go home, and you have a little slow. How do you rebound from that after such a promising or great start to the season?
Yeah, I think starting off with how we started the season, I think it was definitely, it's an incredible way to start a season. Going 24-0, I think it definitely brought a lot of confidence to us. Just our results just showed us what we are capable of, and, we showed a lot of people what we're capable of. And then, like you said, like this little hiccup, I just think we just have to go back to the drawing board and get back to what we're working on and continue to just build off our strengths and continue just to play LSU softball and get back up again.
What was Coach Trina's message after that? That you can say.
After the first one, it wasn't that bad, but after the second one,
Yeah, it wasn't great.
it was worse. For
Yeah,
sure.
that's okay. Sometimes you need that.
I think we did need that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes, right?
She
Yeah.
kind of saw it in a positive light in a way. She kind of took more of a positive approach about it with the first one, at least, of just like not having that pressure anymore of being the only undefeated team this year, and just like being able to just go back to playing us, being big and free, and not having that pressure of, okay, we got to keep that undefeated record. And so she kind of went with that approach, but obviously with the second loss.
I'm glad you brought that up because being at such a prominent university, right? Like LSU's known everywhere, even in softball everywhere. When you have such a good start to the season and then you lose a couple games in a row, which kind of is unexpected. It's expected, right? Like it's going to happen at some point. Is there conversation that creeps in about peaking too early, or is that something you kind of try to stay away from, and it's really about the work that needs to be done?
I feel like she always said one pitch at a time. We didn't really focus on how many games we won at once. It was just win this pitch, win the next game. We took it one game at a time, so we didn't really look back on it. But I mean, social media is everywhere, so it's hard to miss it.
Right.
So we were just trying to steer clear of all of that.
Yeah, kind of piggybacking on Kiki, she'd always, no matter.
Kiki.
Oh, yeah.
That's the nickname? Oh.
It's the nickname.
It's the
Kiki.
nickname.
Okay. All right. Good to know.
But yeah, like she said with the social media stuff, from day one, Coach always told us just to stay off of it. I mean, not everyone's going to have nice. It's not easy. It really isn't. But I mean, not everyone's going to have nice things to say about you. And even when we were doing so good and when we were still undefeated, still to keep clear of the social media because a lot of people have a lot of opinions. So I mean, I think we did a pretty good job of that. And yeah.
Doesn't get much easier, right? Y'all got Missouri this weekend. They're ranked 11th, I think, in the country. So you don't have really time. Baseball and softball, you play a lot of games, so you don't really have time to, hey, we have a whole week of practice, or we have this. You got to go right back into the next game. So as far as players, right, y'all are around each other all the time. What's the message amongst y'all moving from, okay, we lost this series, now we got to go and rebound against the top 15 team in the country, so we don't let this thing snowball. Is there a different message from the girls on the team as opposed to coming down from the coaches?
I think the message is pretty similar. It's just the way it comes out maybe comes out differently. I mean, with the girls, I know today was talked about a lot from the coaching staff and to the players of just going back to that mentality of, regardless of who's in the other dugout, we're going to stick with LSU Softball and we're going to stick to our process of what's been working because, I mean, we did go 24-0, so, our process was working and does work, so we're just going to stick back and trust that process that we were sticking with from the start and going back to that mentality of, regardless of who's in the other dugout, we're going to go hunting for them rather than being hunted by the other team.
I also feel sorry.
No, go ahead. No, it's great.
We have to play it's our first game again. So, the first game of the season, we all just wanted to win.
Yeah.
Because no one wants to start off on a loss. But after we lost, our coach was just start a new streak.
Yep.
So, I just feel we all have that mentality of, going 24-0 again.
So, you've been here for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
You are a rookie.
Yep.
Right? Good teams always have a combination of it all. Right, you have the seniors, you have the juniors, and the sophomores and the juniors, and you got the newcomers who make big impacts. Obviously, you make a big impact. Who are some of the other girls that maybe people aren't super familiar with, but they kind of make the team go, right? People that they should kind of keep an eye on outside of just y'all two, right? Pump up your girls.
We have a freshman. She's a third baseman, second baseman. She's my roommate, Ciara Daniel. I swear she never gets out. She starts every game. She never gets out. I think she's one of the best fielders I've ever seen in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think she's made the biggest impact on our team, personally.
I think Sydney Burzon. Her on the mound is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
We were all counting down the days where we didn't have to face her in scrimmages anymore because we just hate hitting off of her, and we just want other people to have to deal with her insane pitches. But she's just, every time she goes on the mound, it just gives us a different type of confidence, and she's starting to step out of her comfort zone a little bit and speak more out of her comfort zone, so I think it definitely helps, and when she says something, everyone hears it, and I think it's made a huge impact for sure.
Well, for both of y'all, who's been it's kind of along the same lines, but who's been the one player, if you will, that people probably didn't look for to have as much of an impact as they've had this year, and they've steadily just showed up day in and day out and have played really well? In y'all minds, who's the person on the team that you think kind of embodies that?
I have a couple people that come to mind, but the first one is Raylene Gutierrez. She's worked so hard day in and day out of with many things, with defense, hitting, even like her diet of gaining weight. That was one of her big goals, and she's done that, and it's made a huge difference in her offensive this year. But she's just incredible. I mean, defensively, she's always someone you can trust. I mean, I don't think she's missed one ball at first base, and like she's saved so many plays. But yeah, I think she's stepped up big this year.
Me, I know everyone knows who Taylor Pleasance is, but she's like the greatest fielder I've ever seen in my whole entire life. And I'm a shortstop, so I play behind her, and it's just she has taught me a lot throughout the year, and she's someone that can literally just get our team going by one swing or fielding the most insane ball we've ever seen in our life. So I just feel like she gets our team going just by example, honestly. Like, she's just incredible.
How's your adjustment been? Like the jump from high school to the jump to high level Division I softball, right? Like, I know how the jump is for baseball or football. I mean, he knows it for football. I don't. But, different sports. But, I don't think people realize how big that jump is from, playing from in high school level to high level D1.
Well, my high school, I was blessed. We were very
I see
good
that.
in high school.
Yes.
We had like an 83-game win streak, so like winning streaks are just.
Oh, so
that's
you
part of you. That's part of you.
I see what's
Okay.
going on.
I love that.
Here. Okay.
So I just was in a winning atmosphere everywhere, like travel ball, school ball. So it's just kind of been the same in that aspect, but like my role is definitely different this year as a freshman. So I just I'm just being a good teammate.
Like for us, in high school, you may see one guy throw 94, right? But then you get to college and you have 15 guys throwing, 94 miles an hour. I imagine it's kind of similar on the softball side. Like, hey, you may face a girl in our district, whatever, that's throwing pretty nasty. But I feel like every starter you're facing now in the SEC is kind of that way.
Yeah, that's how I felt when I got here. I was facing 68 like once a summer maybe.
Right.
And I was like, wow, everyone throws 68 when I get here. It's crazy. Like, it doesn't even look like 68 to me anymore. You know what I mean? So.
Right. Did you know you are the first person in the history of NCAA
she knows.
to have two consecutive gold gloves? Do you know that?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
That's impressive. The first ever. Nobody's ever done that. You're the only person. There's a record books and there's your name and nobody else underneath it. That's got to be pretty cool.
I did a lot of scrolling in this accomplishment list.
Yeah.
It wouldn't.
I couldn't end. That's why I didn't have an intro, because I was too long to read for both of you.
Yeah, I did. I mean, it was pretty cool. I mean, I didn't know that at first, and then a couple people told me, but I think it's definitely super cool to know that you're the first of something, and I'm very proud of it. And yeah.
How much pride do you put into your defense? Because when everybody thinks about softball or baseball, I think offense, right? Offense. I think the defensive side gets overlooked. Obviously, you're elite because you have 2 straight gold gloves in college softball. So how much pride do you put into what do you do differently than some of the other people out there in center field or defensively in general?
I definitely expect a lot for myself. I mean, I've always been like that growing up, being the youngest of 4. So I come from a very competitive family, so I've always just expected a lot from myself. But I definitely take pride in my work in the outfield. I mean, personally for me, a lot of people would choose offense over defense, but for me, I've always chose defense over offense. Yeah. I mean, I just love defense.
You'd rather make a diving catch than hit a homer? Or rob a home run than hit a homer?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but defense is on top of offense for me. But I don't know. I just try to do my own thing, and I try to just I don't know how to explain it. I just
you just go get it. See it and you get it. Just go get it.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I try to have that mindset of just not letting anything.
Well, I think defense is a lot of being a really good defender is that, right? Especially as an outfielder. I was a center fielder. He was a center fielder. Like, as an outfielder, if you just have the mindset, I'm just going to get it. Like, doesn't matter where it's at, I'm going to go and get it. Like, there's not a ball I can't get to. I think that takes you from, hey, I'm okay, to I'm elite because there's nothing you don't think you can go get. So I understand what you're saying is it's hard to explain it if someone has never really experienced it, but I know exactly what you're saying. Like, you just have that mentality of I'm just going to get everything.
Yeah, and there's been, I mean, my freshman year, I was like, obviously freshman year, kind of nervous, and like that was definitely me. I definitely had to get out of my comfort zone, and I had to have a talk with coach, and she actually told me, like, I need you to be more aggressive to the point where we have to hold you back, because that's much easier to do rather than to have you go more and be more aggressive. So, I mean, I did make that big jump, and I think a lot of people overlook, like, just the small details of it all. I mean, like, even the small details of, like, whenever we're finished with weights, we all go take live reps, and just like taking that live rep off the bat like makes a huge impact on your first step or seeing the ball off the bat, and those little things like really do help in the long run for a game.
With all the success that you've had at this level, how often do you find yourself in the role of, I don't know, people coming up to you asking for little tidbits and advice, you know, like even the ones that have won 84 games straight? I'm sure there's things that your teammates are trying to learn from you because of what you've been able to do at this level.
Yeah, I mean, they've done a great job. The freshmen and the chancellor have done a great job just coming in, and like it's a lot to take on at once, and there's a lot to learn, but they've done a great job of just adjusting to how we do things here, and I just try to lead by example as best I can, and if they have any questions, I'm always open and free to answer. And you know, I have little girls like DMing me like slapping questions or something like that, and I love that, and I do want to coach one day. So I mean, I love coaching, and I love being able to be a good role model for little girls playing softball and wanting to play at the college level. So anything I can do to help them, I would like to do it. Yeah.
Nice.
What about LSU brought y'all both here? You know, there's a lot of really good softball schools around the country. Probably more so than most of the other sports, right? Most of the other sports you feel like are in one specific region. College baseball, you feel like SEC college baseball, like it's not as competitive outside of the SEC. I mean, there's good teams, but it all comes from here in the SEC. Softball is that way, but you also have people, you know, Oklahoma's really good. You have people on the West, teams on the West Coast and the East Coast that are really good. Feels like it's a little bit more spread out. So what about LSU drew y'all here?
I was actually choosing between 3 SEC schools,
There
so
you
I
go.
really wanted to go to the SEC, but the other 2 I was choosing between, one was 8 hours away, one was a flight away. So
Yeah.
I live
Location.
in Houston, so I wanted my parents to be able to come to the games whenever they wanted, and I loved the atmosphere, everything about LSU, the fans, everything, and the coaches. So I just really loved it here when I came on my visit.
See, I didn't want to, like,
Come here.
LSU wasn't even on my top 5
Wow, this is
when
great.
I
This
was
is great. I'm
recruiting.
glad I asked the question.
But I was, like, pretty determined on what school I wanted to go to, and I had taken it was, like, my 3rd or 4th camp I had gone there, and I was like, okay, I want to cut my options down. I want to go here. I don't want to look anywhere else. And then they were like, well, you have a flight next week for LSU. You're taking unofficial. I was like, okay. So before I got here, I told myself I was going to hate everything about it. Like, I'm like, why would I want to go way over there?
Yeah.
And then I came here, and I just fell in love with the atmosphere, like Kiki talked about, and just the coaches, they're incredible. And, like, me being from California, I really wanted to make sure, like, it was a family atmosphere, and, like, it really is. Like, all 26 of us are, like, so close, and I just love that, having a second family, being so far away from home, and just I love how everyone is all about LSU. Like, anywhere you go in Baton Rouge, like, they're all about LSU, and I just love that. And I like she said, like, the SEC, I mean, it's the best of the best, and I wanted to compete against the best. So, I mean, why wouldn't you want to wear LSU across your chest?
No doubt. No doubt. I mean, we're happy. I know LSU fans are happy. Softball team's probably very happy that y'all got here, so appreciate that.
Of course. What makes this team, in your time here, stand out among the other teams you've played on here?
I think, one, how close we are. We definitely take the time to, like, build the relationships off the field, because it's super important just being on the field. When you have those relationships off the field and they're so close and you have that trust and comfortability with each other, it just blends in right on the field. And I think, too, like, having so many veterans, too, who've been here does make a difference. I mean, we have 7 or 8 seniors. So, I mean, I think that definitely makes a difference. But I think it's so cool that we can all gel together and you wouldn't be able to know. Like, I probably hang out with the freshmen more than I do, like, the seniors.
Yeah.
And I think that's so cool. Like, the age gap doesn't really matter. I think it's super cool. Like, we all have our different connections with each other, and I think it's super cool.
Yeah, that's what all the best teams have, right? You have the chemistry from the new guys or girls on the team, and from the old veterans, right? You have the ones you have in between, and everybody seems to kind of gel together, right? And so that's kind of what the best teams do, and it seems like y'all are doing the same thing. Speaking of gelling and speaking of bringing people together, y'all are here. Part of the reason why y'all are here, one, because y'all are awesome and y'all are winning a bunch of games and people need to know about it. But the other reason is because one of our sponsors, one of our partners, is also one of your partners, and that's Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys. And so he has signed y'all to NIL deals. How has it been for y'all being able to experience the NIL world, which is wild, and then getting to partner with Gordon and his team, and based off of everything that you've seen, the kind of guy he is, what he brings to the athletes, how cool has it been, and what have you learned from y'all's partnership with Gordon?
NIL is really new to me, obviously. Like, I'm a freshman, but when I got here in the summer, I went to a dinner with him and Gavin after they won. So he was just so nice.
Gavin Kidre
yes.
is your boyfriend.
Yes,
can I announce that?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's like a secret thing or something. You said Gavin a couple times, so I just assumed I had the green light to just say it. So, all right, go ahead.
She's taken.
But his family was all there. It was so awesome to just see all of them together with their athletes, because it was all the baseball team who was signed with him that won. And it was just awesome because his family was so welcoming. His wife came up to me and was like, "You just moved here. If you ever need anything, just call me. I'll give you my number." And I was like, this is someone I would really want an NIL deal with. He's just awesome. I see his billboards everywhere. I really wanted to be on a billboard, and I am. So
there you go.
It's awesome.
There you go.
So I really like it.
Gordon's making dreams come true.
Yeah, I think he's, like she said, I've only met him once, but I mean, I remember just being super nervous before, and like even as we were talking, and then we started to talk, and like I remember how comfortable I got, and like even he stated like, I want this to be a very comfortable setting, like where you feel free and open to share any ideas you have or opinions you have about something, or if something you want to do, like I want you to feel super open and be able to tell me face to face so we can figure things out together. I think that's super cool that he's allowing student athletes to kind of have put a light on things that they wish to have a light on, and I think it's super cool that he's bringing women athletes together as well and sharing a light on women's sports, because I think it's super important, and women athletes do get overlooked, and I think it's getting better, but I think he's doing a great job of bringing it to light for sure.
What I've liked so much about Gordon is he empowers the athletes that he signs to understand the business world, understand the real world. He demands their, give them the like what he's paying for, right? So he does not just give them money just because he wants to give them money and say, hey, here you go. He's actually teaching y'all, what business is. He's teaching y'all. He's saying, hey, whatever idea you have, let us know. Like, no, there's no bad ideas. He's forcing you to think, which I think bodes well for the future of all of his NIL athletes. So we've been very grateful for his support. I know y'all have been very grateful for y'all's support. We appreciate y'all being here. Before I let y'all go, y'all play Missouri this weekend. 2 keys that y'all need to do going into the weekend that y'all are very capable of doing, obviously 24-0, that maybe y'all didn't do last weekend that you need to change and do this weekend to win.
Like I said before, one pitch at a time, win the pitch. So that would be my number one thing. But also just play for each other. Like, I think the last weekend we were trying to do too much and just try to win the game with one swing of the bat. So I just feel like we need to be calm and play for each other.
Yeah, kind of going off of that, I think last weekend we kind of let outside noise affect our emotions and how we played, and we let that affect us being in the moment of just being one pitch at a time. So I think just putting back our blinders on and, like she said, doing it for each other and just going back to that mentality of going big and going free, and if we swing and miss, who cares? But just going back to playing free and big and remembering to just have fun while we're doing it.
That's the reason I'm glad I haven't let you speak. I thought you were about to butt in there.
No, I was just gonna say like it feels like you're always
He
happy.
was like,
that,
I thought he was about to just say something.
Oh, I got a couple questions, but I was saying it almost feels like you're happy that like the burden of losing is kind of gone. Like you don't want to carry that into the NCAA tournament, SEC regional, or anything. It's like almost better to get it out the way. It feels like.
Yeah, I think it definitely took off some pressure. I mean, I think you'd hate to admit it, but that did put pressure on us of like, okay, like we still have 0 losses, like we can't lose, like, and that's not a good mentality to have. So I think it definitely did take off that pressure, and like we can just go back to being big and free and just doing us.
Yeah. Well, we're looking forward to this weekend. I'm looking for y'all rebounding, going, swinging for the fences, going big, doing everything else you need to do to go out there and get back on the winning track. I have no doubt you're going to do it. I appreciate y'all coming in. Sometimes this place is a little hard to find. Appreciate y'all dealing with all the mess that we have in our new studio. Good luck this weekend, and then we'll have y'all back on at some point in the next couple weeks, next couple months, after y'all go back on another 24-game win streak.
Appreciate
Y'all
it.
can come back in there. Start the next streak. We appreciate y'all.
Thank y'all for
y'all.
having
Yep.
us.
Anytime. Y'all can just, look, we're casual. You just, you have to step over wires and stuff to get out of here. But
you gotta do.
we appreciate y'all.
Thank y'all.
Yep. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Lloyd, you did good. You did good.
well.
You didn't embarrass us.
No goofies.
I wonder how competitive her and Gavin are.
We should ask that. You should ask that.
I thought about it, but I didn't want to step on any toes.
You want to step on any toes?
I got questions.
I know you got. I figured you got questions.
Doing this a long time.
A long time.
It's the mute over there. You don't want to speak at all.
No,
He's
he
been
was
doing
locked
this.
in.
He's been doing this a lot.
He was locked in.
in.
Dude, hitting a softball is fucking hard. By the way.
Oh, you see the challenges all the time of like baseball players trying to play softball and softball players trying to play baseball. Like, as much as they are played on the same somewhat field, it is not the same sport at all.
No.
Yeah.
No.
And softball is electric. If you've never
see
gone,
it more of it, you get better at it. But I mean, if you've never seen it coming in hot, like it's
Definitely an adjustment.
it is tough.
Sights are different. You got to find a different release point. Yeah, it's
It
different.
was tough. 24 and those 24 straight wins is tough. That's hard too. You had 23
Did.
in baseball.
Yeah.
Never got to 24 though.
Never got to 24. But we got 23.
But 24. I mean, look, softball's like baseball. It happens. You go through some things where like,
you could tell it was heavy on their mind.
oh no doubt.
You started getting on SportsCenter and you're on ESPN.
Bro, when that's the thing too. Like that's what being at a school like this, like you don't want to wear that because everybody's just like, oh, they're just peaking too early.
Yeah.
Nah, let's just go ahead and get this out the way. We can get this thing rolling again. It's better to have that.
Do we have any questions for us?
I could pull a couple up. Let's see.
Before we get to the questions, though, let's hit on the Shohei thing a little bit because you did bring it up right before the show.
But where's this thing at right now? Because apparently it's picking up a little steam right now.
Yeah, Lloyd dropped the news on us. Shohei Ohtani's translator got fired for apparently stealing money to pay off big gambling debts, which that's kind of a wild deal. And then that kind of puts Shohei right in the middle of, hey, are you gambling? What's going on?
Fall guy.
I don't think that he is. He doesn't seem like he's that type. He's not a gambling type. I don't know. I don't know him. He seems pretty wholesome. You know what I mean? Like he seems pretty wholesome.
So did
like
Pete
when you see him,
Rose.
but you just don't know. Pete Rose never seemed wholesome. Pete Rose seemed like he was gonna bite your face off. But it's a wild deal. I don't really know much details of the story.
I think it's going to be bigger than what we first thought whenever it came out. And I feel like, oh, this is kind of interesting. And now whenever you kind of peel back the onion of baseball and gambling and sports and gambling, he's not going to get away really scot-free, I would assume. I'd imagine that they're going to do some more digging to see just the relationship. Obviously, they fired the translator already. But I think there's going to be more to the story than whether it be Shohei's innocent or not. It's going to be the idea of just him being connected to him. He's more than just a translator. He's one of his friends. So,
Do we have any details on this thing?
from what I've read so far, it's that Shohei paid his
The
gambling debts off. So obviously they were talking about it, whether it be he was gambling or he was in debt. And then Shohei to be even tangentially tied to it is something that I think Major League Baseball is going to have to take a look at, because I agree with you. Like, Shohei has never done anything wrong in Major League Baseball. He's, as from what you know about him, as wholesome as he can be. He announces he got married with an Instagram post saying he got married without a picture.
Like super private. Like
yes, but that could play into it too.
His MVP with just his dog or with
with his dog.
Just his dog just sitting
Dodger?
in the crib.
That's not the name of it. Is it?
I think
someone was joking. Maybe it is. I don't know what the name of the dog is. But yeah, like just a wholesome person. Like that's what it comes off as. I can't imagine he was the one placing all the bets. Couldn't have been Brad Bohannon. Like not. I don't. See him
I don't think so.
I don't see him doing that.
Even him being related to paying off the debt.
Right. That's not
tough.
good. Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah.
I see. I'm reading a tweet.
Sticky.
Reading a tweet by PFT commenter.
Oh yeah, that's what you think. I'm sure it'll be very serious.
He said, "How pissed off do you think the translator was when Shohei signs this massive deal, but everything was deferred?" Think about that. Yes, I'm good. No. Wait, you're only making $2 million a year? What happened to that money? Oh,
wait, I've been gambling like you're gonna get this big deal. Hold on.
I was like, that's a great point.
That's great.
Unbelievable point.
Okay, a couple questions coming in.
Okay.
Let's see, from Melody Walsh. Ask him, that's not me. Ask him, do you think last weekend was more state, isn't that as bad as we think, or just LSU laid an egg and will rebound?
I think it's a combo, actually. I mean, Mississippi State's ranked in the top 25 now. Mississippi State's ranked in the top 25 right now. I think they're 21st. They are definitely better than people thought they were. I mean, they started the season off 3-4. Everybody kind of wrote them off after the last 2 years they had. Then they go and rattle off 13 straight wins. They have kind of a hiccup midweek before LSU, and then they put it on LSU. So I think that they are a lot better than people thought. I also think LSU played a lot worse than they actually are. Yeah. So I think there's a combination of both.
Yeah, I think LSU got a little bit of a gut check to start the conference play. But I do think Mississippi State's better than what people think. Like, they're going to be in the conversation in finding their way into the NCAA tournament at the end of the year. I really believe, especially if they can go on the road and take care of a couple series. I think they'll play well enough at home to be able to do that. And it's two different teams, it's 2 different years. But let's not forget, LSU dropped 2 or 3 to Mississippi State last year.
So, no doubt. And last year, Mississippi State team was way worse.
Way worse.
And so, look.
And it was later in the year.
Right. And I think, Mississippi State may have just played had an unbelievable weekend. And maybe these guys they don't get hot, they don't play well, and they stink. But in that given weekend, they're really good, and I think that they're better than people gave them credit for.
They still 2.
They're better than I thought they were.
Yeah, if they still 2, maybe 3 series on the road, I promise you, they'll be in the tournament team.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Next.
All right, next one up. From our boy Fonz. Ask him, where were you batting where you were looking for one pitch and waiting on it, or were you swinging on reaction? So I'd imagine kind of going up the Paxton Clean conversation.
You want to go? You want to answer this one first?
Yeah, I got real stubborn about staying on heaters, honestly. Like, that was my thing. I was always about staying on heaters. If you can stay on heaters, you can find your way to hitting the off-speed pitch, especially if you're in a good spot. I think the times I really found myself hot was when I really stuck to that idea, stuck to that plan, and I think a lot of hitters are like that.
So I was similar to that fastball. That I was sitting on heater. I was ready for heater. I wasn't cheating to it, but I was ready for it. But for me, it was all about location. It was about looking for heater, not getting off the heater, but also looking at location. So if I was looking for, I was always looking for a pitch that was, outer third. It depends on the pitcher, actually. Depends on whatever the scouting report. So sometimes I was looking outer third. If I didn't see anything outer third, I wasn't swinging at it, or at least I was trying not to swing at it, right? If a guy had ride, I'm looking middle, but I'm looking top of the zone, and I'm looking here at the top of the zone. And more times than not, I was able to adjust to the other pitches. But for me, it was heater and location.
See, and that's funny, man, because this is going to be a little bit deeper conversation, because for me, I couldn't do that. So, like, if you knew a guy had ride on the heater and you were looking top of the zone, for me, I'm going to chase up. Yeah. So I had to say, I know you got ride and you're a heater. I need you in the middle of the zone.
And that's crazy, because if I didn't do that, I chased up. But if I looked up and I knew where the top of the zone was that I wanted to hit, I would knew that I wasn't going above it. It's crazy.
And
it's
that's
crazy
what
how
I
the
said,
mind
it comes
works.
a little deeper of a conversation because, like you said, you would look outer third. I was always, I gotta pin you to the middle because let's say if I'm up there as a lefty and there's a righty that's got good sink and got good run. If I sat there and said, hey, well, I know what you're trying to do. I'm gonna look outer third. Well, that pitch that you throw on the black, that's gonna run off the plate. For me, I was gonna swing at it because I'm looking outer third.
Now let me clarify. I used outer third as like, hey, depending on the pitcher. If it's like, hey, I don't know anything about this pitcher or the scouting report's kind of a neutral thing, I'm going to look middle in to try to hit the ball to the center. Now, to your point, because if I'm looking away, if a guy's throwing sliders away, I chase the slider away, right? Now, fastballs away is a little different, but that also pitches, they throw the slider off, that makes it tougher. So, more times than not, it was probably flipped. I was looking inner third fastball, but yeah, sorry.
My point to it is if you're on the mound, I wasn't trying to look for trying to hit your best pitch, if that makes any sense. So if I say, hey, a righty's up, outer third, probably has a good sinker, maybe does some backdoor stuff. If that's your best pitch, I'm not trying to hit your best pitch.
You didn't catch that and I caught that.
I'm not trying to hit your best pitch. So I always told myself, like, if he's going to throw that and be good at it doing it all game, I'll tip my cap. But don't miss over the middle. Don't miss over the plate. Because I'm not going to miss if you can.
Well, that's why Corey Kluber gave me so much trouble. Because Corey Kluber would never throw anything over the middle or inner half of the plate for a strike. Everything was two seamers off the plate.
He knew how to do that. He was
to everyone.
Side.
And then he would throw his cutter or slider right off of that. And so you ended up starting to look over the plate. And when you started looking that way, you started chasing a little bit more away because you're already cheating that way, so it looks closer and it goes that far. And then he sees you cheating, goes up and in with the two-seamer and gets you back off, and he throws a slider. It's just when he was good, that's what gave me so much trouble because he never came over the plate.
Yeah, when he was good, when Corey Kluber was good, it was literally everything.
He was good for a long time. Like the last of his career was older.
Glove side, and his misses were so small.
And he was barely touching the rubber with his
misses
cleats.
Were so small.
Like he was literally touching the end of the rubber with his big toe. He was basically off the rubber. I know. Stop it, Lloyd.
Think fastball and adjust.
Think fastball and adjust. Next question. Any questions?
Any questions?
Do we have any more?
Yes.
Okay.
Another one from Fonz. Asking him, last year LSU hit a slump late in the year and turned around the tourney. Do you think that will be okay if they hit the slump earlier in the year? It's going to come at some point, right?
I do. And look, I don't think this is the slump, right? This is the early. I think this is more early season trying to find things out type stuff.
Just toeing the rubber.
Right? Yeah, just toeing the rubber. Like you're not, this isn't like, oh, we're in a slump, we're not doing anything great. I think this is more, we got to figure out who we actually are as a team type stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think that you're going to see them play their best baseball in the next few weeks. And you may see them stumble a couple of times, but that's hard to determine. You know what I mean? I don't think they're going through a slump. That's probably why it's hard for me to answer that question.
I don't think it's a slump, but I do think that this is where this team will find out if they have it or if they don't. In the sense of, hey, let's be honest. Up until this point in the schedule, they've been better than everybody they've played, right? Mm-hmm. That target's been on their back, but they've been better than everybody they played.
And they've been tested.
Right, and they've been tested, but they passed the test too, right? Right now, you're starting to get to the point of your schedule where the talent's starting to level out. And guess who's got the target on their back? And they're circled on everyone's schedule, right? Because of what you did. So right now, you're finding a lot of guys who are wearing purple and gold who didn't hold the trophy last year.
Right.
But they feel like they did because they're wearing that uniform, right? So I think right now is the time where those guys that are mixing in are having to kind of figure out, all right, it's a little different. People are coming at us a little harder, and we got to give a little bit more because they're giving more because of who they're getting a chance to play against. And I think it's hitting them right now. And I think this stretch this month to begin the SEC schedule because you are the hunted, I think is super important for them because they have to establish that we haven't gone anywhere. Yeah. And no one's going to believe it until you show them.
And to your point, I think there's been a lot of people that were on the team last year that played a significant amount until you got to SEC play that didn't see SEC caliber pitching that are now in the spot to where they have to.
There were so many veterans on the squad last year.
Yeah.
They knew what they were trying to do. They knew the league. They knew all of this stuff. Right?
And they failed.
Yeah.
They made it to Omaha. Or they didn't make it to Omaha, right? Like, they got through coaches. Like, they had gone through some stuff. And so, like, you learn a lot more through the failures than you do through the successes. Yeah. And I think to your point, I think this is going to be a big thing for these young guys to learn, hey, listen, we ain't last year's team. We're a whole new team. Y'all got to figure out y'all's own way. Can't just follow that same path.
I'm not sitting here saying, like, I'm pointing this guy out, but, like, even someone who has the experience like a Mac Bingham does, right? But he doesn't have it here. And I don't mean here just in different leagues, just in the simple case that it's like, hey, you're now here, you're in this uniform. Yeah. They are gunning for you because this uniform held the trophy last year. They're going to attack you differently. Yep. And so I would imagine he's probably kind of got to tap into that mindset that maybe he had to tap into last year where he felt like he was looked over. I'm not sure. I don't know if he's tapped into that yet this year. But I would imagine that's probably hard to bring when it's all sunshine and rainbows so far. Yeah. Right? And everybody's telling you how good you are. You've only lost 2 games. Everybody wants to see everything you do. You're the best social media thing out here. There's trophy of this, there's ceremony that, there's all of this. It's hard to find that mindset again until you get smacked in the face. Yep. And I think that's where they're at right now. I do.
And let me know what y'all think, but
we will.
How many guys do you think made a significant impact on last year's team that are on this year's team?
How many guys?
Yeah, when you look at like Tommy White.
Yes.
Travinski, late.
Tommy White, Travinski, Pearson. Jared Jones.
Milazzo.
Jones
for literally the whole year except for the last month.
Yeah, last month.
Yeah.
Milazzo. Now, their impact, though, is different than the impact that you're talking about what you're with left, right? The impact that you're talking about, Tommy and Travinski. Now,
they were there at the end of the year.
Well, not just the end, but it was loud impact. It was homers. It was explosive stuff.
No, I'm talking about more of like counted on. Like Pearson found himself in that role. Obviously, Tommy White and then Travinski, where you were in there every day until the end of the year.
Right.
Like, Bear Jones has experience. SEC play, you kind of tapered off. Same thing with Paxton Kling. Had experience. SEC play tapered off. Like a lot of these guys weren't in there whatever it's right now.
You're right, and that's to the point of it being a whole different team. So like they've got to figure out who they are as a team, not follow the path of last year's team. And I think they know that. Like they're not like on their high horse like whatever because I haven't got that feel from them. But whether they know it or not, subconsciously maybe, right? They just got to figure out who we are, what do we need to do to win. I think losing a series like that, I think that's a good way to figure that out.
Yeah, I think it's just to, I guess, finish it off is I think you could work your ass off and you can do a lot of work and you could have a lot of intention on what you're trying to do, and then you get punched in the mouth and realize that, oh, wait, they mean business.
Because I've really been in this spot before.
Yeah, more business than it don't matter how hard I work. Now the grit needs to come out. And I think that this team hasn't had to show grit yet because of you're coming off the heels of what happened last year. So I think this is where it gets real for him.
And I think the other part of this conversation or this question is at least that he's looking into what if you drop another 2 of 3 of Florida and then you start SEC play.
Can't look that way, though.
No,
yeah, it's not great.
Because if you do it early, that's what I think he's probably trying to get toward is where's the kind of where are you as a team or where do people think of you as a team?
Well, you say you can't do it that way. I guarantee you that's how Jay's looking at it.
No, for sure.
Guarantee.
For sure. No, Jake has to look at it that way. He's the head coach.
Yeah.
The players can't look at it that way. You can't say, what if – you can't ever go into a weekend, what if we start this way? Because you can't expect to go that way. Now, you look at what happened last year, gauntlet first 5 weeks of the SEC.
Ace.
You look at the back 5, you're like, oh, this is the easier 5 weeks. The back five series, they were worse than they were in the front 5 series. So – to his point, like, yeah, you have the ability to figure this thing out, right? Like, you lost 2 series. Don't forget, you lost 2 SEC series last year. Wasn't like you won them all. You lost 2 SEC series last year, right? Back to back? Auburn and Mississippi State?
Yeah.
Right? So, you didn't win them all. You lost this first one. You have the ability to write Florida is beatable. These teams that you have are not, like, unbeatable. It's just harder. It's going to be a more difficult thing. You don't want to start 1 and 5 in the SEC or 2 and 4 in the SEC. You don't want to start that way, but if it's not the end all be all if you do. But you can't expect it, right? Like the players aren't looking at it that way.
Yeah, the pressure will get ramped ramped up a good bit, I'd imagine, if they don't.
You don't feel that.
No, I'm talking about like the outside noise.
Yeah, right. But like as a player, like in college, you don't feel that really. In baseball. Next.
Last one up.
Okay.
From Armstrong Grappling. That's if that is your real name. Isn't it odd?
Pretty sure that's not his real name.
Isn't it odd that we have high caliber talent on the mound, yet nobody has a changeup in their arsenal? Why is that pitch not being developed? Our starting pitchers don't have the stuff to rely on just 2 pitches. Thoughts?
Well, I don't know too many starting pitchers that have the stuff to rely on just 2, even if you look
Except
at
for Paul Skeens.
I mean, that's not true. Look at Paul Skeens the second half of the year last year. He started throwing
There's
the third
4
pitch.
pitches.
Right.
Yeah, he threw 4 pitches. So I don't really think that many of them have that ability. But, like I said, give it time.
Yeah.
Give it time.
And look, as far as the actual pitch, the changeup, like I think they do have changeups. It's just
they haven't had to use it.
You haven't had to use it because you haven't been in a position to use it. Like if you're if you're ahead of the count, right, and you are getting away with what you're throwing, the way you're pitching, you're gonna keep doing that. Then you get behind the count, and you're at 3-0, you're 3-1. You ain't throwing changeups 3-0 or 3-1.
Just remember this: before this weekend,
it is the best pitch in baseball, though.
It is. Before this weekend, they entered, I'm pretty sure, with a sub-2 team ERA.
Yeah.
Right? So that means you probably didn't have much need for throwing many changeups.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying you don't need it, right? It showed this week that there was more that's needed, right?
Yeah.
Exactly what? There was more that's needed. But you start to use the arsenal more.
And if it's not a strength of the pitcher, and I guess his point is, why aren't they developing? It's not that easy just to develop a pitch, right? If they don't have a good feel for a changeup, you don't want to develop a pitch that they're not comfortable throwing.
Well, I'm sure they got some guys on it on the team that have very good changeups.
Right.
But my point is, when a team is sitting there with a sub-2, there's a good chance they're beating you with fastball, breaking ball, maybe just a ton of fastballs. That's probably where they were at. So you get challenged. Now you start having to use that arsenal a little bit more. And I think you'll probably see a little bit more of it this weekend.
Knuckleball.
I hated knuckleballs.
I got a nasty
one. I can't throw one.
Really?
Everybody I feel like can throw a ball that doesn't spin except me. I throw it spins more than when I throw a fastball.
That's not how they.
I don't know how to do it. I don't know.
I'll teach.
I've tried so hard.
The Avatar.
I've thrown it and I'm like, what am I? I feel like an idiot.
How do you grip it?
I've been taught. I talked to literally
on the white part.
I talked to literally
grab it with
I
the
talked
ball.
to an actual knuckleball pitcher. How do you grip it?
R.A. Dickey?
I gripped it exactly how I did. No. Well, one year the Tampa tried to, because Tampa's always trying to reinvent.
They tried to
something.
teach you. They tried to make you a knuckleball pitcher.
That's what they did. They would take.
Gotta get him in the lineup.
They would take all the catchers, or infielders that like they felt like
had good arms.
They were going to release that they didn't want as a position, but it felt like they could teach them. And brought them to spring training early and had a knuckleball spring training camp.
Knuckleball off.
Oh my God!
They had like
how
12,
do you feel as a player if that's what you get?
12 guys like trying to throw a knuckleball. It lasted 1 year, didn't work out.
But say it can't be a good feeling.
Can you imagine if they just started developing knuckleballers?
Can you imagine if you sitting at home like waiting? When am I going to get this email about when I'm supposed to be reporting to camp? And you get the hey, you're now invited to the knuckleball pitcher camp. Oh my God!
God damn it!
It's over for me.
Show your wife like, oh, I got a camp invite. What are you doing? Yeah. I'm learning a knuckleball. Pack your shit.
Honey, you should stay here. Don't come to this one. Yeah, I don't know how long it's gonna last.
Knuckleball's crazy. I mean, I hated if you threw a good one. It was tough. It was tough. And then you sneak that fastball. Some guys throwing 92-mile fastballs and throwing
like
knuckleballs.
80-mile-an-hour knuckleball.
What is going on?
Yeah,
but yeah, all right. Dickies was nasty. He also yelled at his catcher when he missed a pass ball.
Yeah,
I was at the plate one time, and R.A. Dickey had 4 straight pass balls. Right, he had his own personal catcher because it was the only guy who could catch his knuckleball. Playing in Toronto, he threw his knuckleball 4 straight pass balls. The last one was the guy at third base scored, and I was hitting, and the guy scored, and R.A. Dickey comes to the plate because he has to cover, and he starts motherfucking his catcher, it's Tully, and Tully comes back, and he starts motherfucking him back under his breath, and I'm sitting there, I'm just laughing my ass off. And then the next one, he tries to throw it perfect because he's throwing pass balls. Didn't break. Double off the wall.
Right.
Thank you. Thanks, Tully. I appreciate you, dude. Yeah. I appreciate you. It was great. That was the only hit I got off a knuckleball in my life. That one.
You got the only because fastball.
Only because it didn't knuckle as much as he wanted to.
Catch this one.
Yeah.
If you hit it, you can name it. That's it for the Ask Mikey and
That's
Mitch?
it for the Ask Mikey Mitch, which is
Impromptu.
Impromptu. I know we didn't listen. We're a little rattled this week. We're getting back there. We're getting better. The Friday will be better. We've got one. We got a show back under our belt. We're good to go. All right, mistake of the day. Back to the Seggies, brought to you by our friends at Dozy Place.
Mistake of the day also was
I
a bit on Otani, but I felt like that's okay. I have another one. Caden Proctor. Mistake of the day just be the transfer portal. Because we're starting to enter an era where Caden Proctor, obviously the Alabama starting left tackle from Iowa, hits the portal, goes to Iowa, has a cup of coffee, and decides, wait, hold on, maybe Alabama wasn't as bad as I thought.
They're better.
And maybe just Alabama wasn't so bad.
Better beans.
Yeah.
Better harvested beans.
They're fresh.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't so bad at Bama and is allowed to just come back and hits the portal again and is now back to Alabama being the starting left tackle. If you want to know if tampering is alive and well, I'd imagine it is. If you want to know what the transfer portal is doing, it is that. And now you're entering an era where who's to say you can't leave from week 4 to week 6? What's the difference?
Yep. That's wild. So the mistake of the day is the portal. Or him for making the decision. Which one?
Well, he's kind of a genius.
I mean, he's from Iowa. I think he realized leaving from Alabama and going to Iowa, even if that's where he's from, like, this doesn't feel the same. Doesn't feel the way it felt there. Even without Nick, it doesn't feel the same. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to say, hey, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. Please
still
take
need
me
a left
back.
tackle?
And they'd be like, oh, yeah, you started every game at left tackle as a true freshman. You're a freshman All-American. First, come on back. No problem. We got a spot for you. Hey, this other guy, you got to fill it. See ya.
He can go to Iowa.
You transfer. You go take a spot. Yep, and that's kind of what you
What
get.
a debacle. That guy was getting reps. Like, man, I think I'm going to be the starting left tackle at Alabama.
He sees it on Twitter, and he's like, God. He's probably playing video games, and he sees it.
We should have been in the playbook.
As a left tackle, you know your protections.
Slot step. And apparently, he is not the only one. There's rumors of safety, Caleb Downs, coming back to Alabama.
Whoa, from Ohio State?
Yeah.
How much money is Alabama dropping on these guys?
They got their feet underneath them back.
They figured it out.
That's incredible.
Hold on. We got to get our collective together because you don't get the St. Nick discount.
That's the Caleb Downs is like.
That's incredible.
No way he's coming back.
There's a rumor.
Is it a rumor, or is it like a real rumor? Like,
how much do you trust
Tiger droppings rumor, or is it like, hey, this is like coming from people that are in the know?
People in the know are whispering about it. Josh Pate, I don't know if you trust him, seems to like college football a good bit.
Wow.
That'd be
wild. That's just literally just slapping the transfer portal right in the face.
Yeah.
Like, hey, watch this. Watch how much I'm going to embarrass you.
So I'm saying there's going to be a world where you have the starting quarterback for Alabama become the starting quarterback at Ole Miss in a week.
You start doing trades, mid-season
trade.
Trade deadline. Trade deadline is this day.
Boy,
they're going to have to figure it out.
Don't do it.
Trade deadline. That's crazy.
Not trade deadline. Transfer portal deadline.
Transfer, but technically the trade deadline.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll give you this person. This person transfers over here. We need a left tackle. You need a cornerback.
We need you to win this game in this league.
We have a lot of cornerbacks. You have a lot of left tackles. You will give you this, and you're playing our rival that we need you to beat. So go ahead and here's this guy, beat him, and then we'll figure it out. You know what? Maybe send him back.
Send him back after the year. If college football is just a joke.
That's never gonna. I hope that never happens. That'll never happen. Good mistake of the day.
Thank you.
All right. Curtain Call is brought to you by our friends at Assured Partners.
Sam?
Me. Oh yeah. Sure. Yeah. Insurance. Kicking my butt right now.
Everything is. Trying our best.
Yeah.
Trying our best.
I'm working hard. What we got?
I'll lead it off.
Yeah, please.
It's still unknown of how good of a quarterback he's going to be, but apparently the human that Anthony Richardson is incredible.
Yeah.
He's already been credited of cleaning up after the entire team. And now, just a day or so ago, he pulls over on I-65, sees a guy with a blown out tire, and he helps him change his flat side of the highway.
This
guy's an incredible human. So I want to give a little curtain call to Anthony Richardson because, like I said, it's still unknown how good of a quarterback he's going to be. But I like the guy. The guy's doing a lot for the
Listen,
people.
he's had nothing. He's had nothing.
It's like what Mikey did with the lady that needed her car.
Her
car. Oh, I thought you meant the fight.
Oh no.
Her car
Curtain
was
call
in
for a one-hitter quitter.
her car was in a bad spot.
Yeah, you ruined her engine.
I didn't do that. It
It was almost starting, then it wasn't starting at all.
No, she needed a whole new battery. I jumped
bet
it.
so.
I jumped it, and it was not good. That was not my fault.
Is the negative go in the negative or the positive go in the positive?
No,
You switch up?
I knew that. She didn't know. I did it right. Don't try. I did it right. I did it right.
It was on Google.
I did it right. It didn't work though, but I did it right. All right. My curtain call is to, and I guess it's kind of a mistake of the day, but more of a curtain call to the man and the team more than it is a mistake of the day for the NCAA not putting this team in. Indiana State University.
Oh, my guy.
They had the highest net ranking, right? Which is like,
Yeah, tell me what that is.
it's like the gold, it's like the RPI for baseball.
Okay.
Right? So, like, it takes in strength of conference, strength of schedule, good wins, bad, like good loss, all that stuff, right? And it puts it in, hey, basically saying, hey, you are, based off this, all these things combined, you are this, ranked this, whatever in the country. And they go by it when they make the decisions on who makes the tournament. Indiana State had the highest net ranking ever to not be chosen to make the NCAA tournament. So they got snubbed, right? And not only did they get snubbed, we got snubbed from watching Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. What a great nickname that Pat McAfee gave this guy. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, not Kareem. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And this man he can ball.
Smooth.
He can
Silky.
ball. He can ball, right? I don't know his actual name, but we can find that out. Are you going to play the video?
Oh, no, I'm not going to play the video. I was just looking him up.
Oh, I have the video on the thing.
Okay.
You're going to have to refresh it.
I got you.
Thank you. But Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he can ball. He's smooth. He can shoot it. He's got some skill. And
he's going to give the rec league some problems.
We are all got deprived of watching him in the tournament because this tournament is something where he honestly, he got deprived because his NIL would skyrocket around the country because he would be a crowd favorite.
He missed his one shining moment.
Kareem, look at that. Look at that. He can pass. He can shoot. He's skilled with the ball in his hands. He's strong.
Good.
Strong. Watch this. Watch this.
Oh,
no. Pump fake.
Pump fake to the right.
In the lane.
With the lefty finish.
Like,
look at that. Look. Pump fake.
Get
and
him.
one. Nope. Didn't call a foul. It's okay. Look, let me step back out and make this
Set
three.
the pick, step out. Slip him.
Look at him. Let me back you down.
Drop
Boom.
shuffle. And that left
Look,
hand.
I'm going to get rebounds with 4 guys around me, and then I'm going to lay it back up.
Slip in there. Look at him. Look at the awareness.
Got the glasses and everything. We got deprived of this man. But that's my current call, is this guy's basketball game, how good he is, and the fact that he's got an unbelievable nickname now.
How come they didn't put him in the NIT?
Tough. All right.
My curtain call is to the one and only, never changed Jim Harbaugh, as he had a garage sale in Michigan.
I love that. You got to get rid of all his Michigan stuff.
So old school.
He had a garage sale in Michigan.
Uh-huh.
That's great.
But like, I don't even know people.
I mean, the neighborhood he lives in probably is like, what the hell are you doing? HOH probably wasn't happy with him.
No, everybody's here now.
But you know, like, what are we doing?
Maybe you don't have HOA there.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
I wonder if Connor Stallions put it together.
What if that's him?
But that is he's such an old soul, and I'm sure his dad came over and was like, look, we gotta sell some of this. We gotta make $1.
I know they still happen. What's the last time you seen a garage sale?
Here's what happened. They had to move.
Yeah.
He was gone.
Oh yeah.
His wife was like, hey, we got too much crap. We got to figure what we're going to do. Are you going to have to come back? And he says, I know how to get rid of some of it.
Garage sale.
Do a garage sale. We'll get rid of half our shit. We're good.
Call Jim over. We'll sell lemonade.
Yep. The cleats I wore on the sidelines, all my Michigan stuff that I don't have enough any use for anymore, you take it.
I feel like the cleats he wore on the sideline, though, he's just going to get
somebody. Is that a wedding dress?
Get somebody to paint them and just wear them.
Yeah, you got them new cleats. Yeah. Just the all black.
Yeah.
All black.
I mean, they have
Shoe
none
polish.
of this is worth a fuck. Like nothing cool.
Yeah, but that's what you get.
What is that, an Alexa?
Gary Vee was
he's got a sewing machine.
Oh, people love that, dude. Gary Vee probably had a field day at this one. Gary Vee loves to go to these garage sales and try to find these hidden gems and then go resell them for $5. He bought it for 2 cents. He'd have a field day there. Good stuff. Sewing machine. Maybe it was vintage.
It's all his play to
maybe it was vintage.
Own the Jets. One garage sale at a time.
So they say.
That's what they say. All right, we got back on track today. We appreciate this beautiful Wednesday. Thank you, Lloyd, for being a back part of the squad. We needed you more than we thought we did.
That's right.
I hate the fact that I do need you, that we need you that much, because it really feels like you take advantage of that. I don't love it. But we're back on track. We had a great show today. We appreciate
everybody.
Kiki.
Do you love me?
Kiki. Ciara and Maddie for coming on the show. We appreciate Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys for allowing them to come on and signing NIL deals and pushing them our way. And we're looking forward to our Friday show. We're back live in studio 1 to 2:30. We'll preview get more in depth on the Florida LSU weekend series. This is a rematch of the national championship game. We'll be having a tailgate. Actually, I take that back. Not we. I will, because again, all of my friends are leaving. So I'll be out there and I'm going to hold it down. We told y'all we're having mic'd up tailgates. We're having one. I'm putting it on Wednesday. I'm going to recruit some of my other friends to come and help me set it up. But if you see us out there, come stop, say hello. We're going to have a lot of Heineken. We're also may have some of these. Indigo, right? Our new partners, our new place where we are housed. They're doing some really cool things. This is CBD and THC infused seltzers, right? And you can buy them online right now. Now, if you wait just a little longer, you may be able to go buy them places maybe like Rouse's or grocery stores, or any of those things,
ones
right?
that you buy online,
Yep.
you may not have to go
Right.
online next time.
Now, listen, this isn't first to market. There's some of these already in the grocery stores. But Indigo they have a great product. If you like their product, they're all lab tested. They've been studied. They've been tested. They're all what they say they are. You can go indigopapers.com to get or look at the products that they offer. And seems like they will be coming to a local grocer near you sooner rather than later. But we are pumped about our new partners with them. We are pumped about our new house that they're allowing us to build. And we are pumped about the new products that they're going to offer. We will continue to push their products and tell you the new things that they have because I feel like it's just kind of like a match made in heaven in this with our studio and everything.
Oh,
now,
it smells good.
In 2 weeks, is going to be a lot better than it is now, so we appreciate it. But shout out to our new partners in Indigo.
Tinctures, gummies, drinks, anything you want, any way
Everything.
you want to consume your THC, CBD.
A lot of health benefits to it too.
I feel better already.
A lot of health benefits. Now,
Yes.
we also we appreciate all of our loyal supporters for sticking with us through some of these tough times that we're having right now in the last couple of weeks, and the different look that we have of our show. We're getting there. Please continue to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We appreciate that. It helps us out. If you can't watch us, listen to us or anywhere you get your pods. And like I said, we'll be back live here in studio Friday from 1 to 2:30. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Women's basketball, 3 p.m. game on Friday afternoon. So we will preview that as well on our show on Friday. So enjoy your Wednesday. Looking forward to seeing you on Friday. We love you. Peace.